Hi everyone, welcome back to Spiritual Growth Tarot. I'm Denise and I'm devoting this reading to, well, a couple of things with Michael Cohen. I want to do his, a bit of his karma and his success in healing it, if any. I imagine that there are some, but we'll see. And also because he's going to be going for his 8th interview with the Manhattan DA's office. So that would be, Cy Vance Jr., I believe, and to give more testimony on Trump. So, and Trump could plead the 5th, or he could submit, to his deposition, but we'll see how all that goes. But for Michael Cohen, I want to, because someone had a brilliant question as to what may play out or how he may affect, Trump's, what do we call it? I want to call it inquisition, but I don't think that's right, of course. Interrogation, indictment. I knew it was an I word. Okay. So Michael Cohen. So the forces in motion going on in his life now. Okay, so we have the 5 of Swords. His biggest challenge, the 9 of Cups. That's interesting. So the karma, I'll do 2 cards here for the karma that he brought in this lifetime to heal. And what success he's had in healing it would go next. Okay. And then 2 cards up here for what he's, and this will also be a little bit of karma. It's kind of like what's hanging over him. What is he like destined to experience presently, like based on, everything he's done, based on his free will that he has exercised. What's kind of hanging over him? Okay. And then 2 for his professional future. And 2 for his personal future. I like seeing this up here. Okay, so let me get things in frame. Oh, there we go. I don't want to cut anything off. Actually, these 2 categories are kind of separate, so let's do it this way. Okay. I think that's good. Alrighty. Okay, so 5 of Swords for the soul forces going on in his life. Well, he's still working through his deepest inner conflict. He's still working through issues of winner versus loser. He's still working through issues of just a little bit of self-interest and a little bit of, arguments and a little bit of defeat. And I think he might be, rather than him walking away with all the swords, I think he might be one of these guys over here. And this guy here may be Trump. Because Trump's the biggest one, that's all about winner versus loser mentality. I mean, that's just who he is. Now, his biggest challenge with the 9 of Cups going on now, and this is just, currently, I think it has to do, honestly, I feel like it has more to do with his emotional satisfaction than anything else. I think that he's just not happy, even though it came through straight up, when it comes in the challenge position, you read it a bit like, a reversal. So that has to do with, some financial loss, to say the least. It has to do with unfulfillment. It has to do with maybe even a little bit of self-hatred. And I think, even though I don't have remorseful cards here, I think he's already gone through that, and we didn't, we don't really need to see it. This feels to me like a little bit of like false freedom as well, like freedom that hasn't really come through, even though he's doing the best, I guess, to extricate himself. But he was indicted for what I think it was lying to Congress, and then all the other, like, I think it was fraud charges. I forget exactly. You guys will have to clue me in. I totally forget. But I feel, again, both of these cards has to do with Trump. I think that he had like a lot of trust in him, like way back when, and now he's still working it all through. So that lack of fulfillment in trust, of course, he went for it for the money, but then I remember in his book speaking about, in the beginning of his book, talking about the beginning of their relationship, his with Trump, and he did a lot of free work for Trump just to get in on his good graces. And then, of course, look where it got him. Oh, I remember part of one of the charges had to do with the fact that he was the one that took care of, he was Trump's fixer, so he took care of the whole Stormy Daniels payoff, and they paid it out of Trump Incorporated, which is, of course, a huge, it's more than a no-no. It's enough for jail time. So the fact that Trump didn't get jail or incarceration was only because he was president. So those days are over. Yeah. Okay, so I'll keep going with that. I'm just kind of holding that, in my consciousness as well, is this whole deal with Trump. And this freedom card over here for him personally, even though it doesn't help him financially, this has to do with Trump. So, all right, let's dive into his karma really quickly. So the karma he brought in from his past life was, it's like, here's an offer you don't want. He brought in some karma about needing to refuse offers that bring in things that you will have to pay the price for later on. This card has to do with apathy, straight up. So reversed, it's more in that area of don't be apathetic, stand up in your integrity, don't go for it just because it's the money or the fame, and, do what's right. So, but I don't know what happened in the prior life that, he was leaving this, whatever happened before. There was some big regret and nightmarish, kind of like hell realm experience where he was in a lot of stress and anxiety and sleepless nights, head problems, thinking clearly was an issue. And then I think this lifetime he decided to try and overcome that. I think his higher self intention coming into this lifetime was to try and get himself out of this depression that he brought in from his last lifetime, prior to this one, of course. And may have been, a series of lifetimes to try and overcome that. So this lifetime, I think he decided to try and be a little more enthusiastic and not so apathetic, and to focus on what he wanted, and he definitely did that. He hooked up with the wrong people, and he maybe had karma with Trump, who knows. I tend to agree with Scott Allen, his spiritual essence. Oh, and I'll be on his channel today at 2 o'clock if you guys want to come, 2 o'clock Pacific time. If you want to, and adjust for your time zone, of course, if you want personal readings, we're doing those for 2 hours with Sheila from Inquisitive Tarot. So there's that. But Scott, I always thought that he was Caligula, that Trump was Caligula. So whether Caligula or Nero or some of the other people, I tend to go with Caligula because if you just look at the facts, based on the lifetimes, or based on, the actions from the past lifetime, it's very possible. He does look a little bit like Mussolini as well, though, too. But anyway, so I think that because of these cards here, I think that Michael Cohen had some hooks into his soul around, trying to get the money that he wanted, trying to have fulfillment that he wanted. And he just hooked up with the wrong person. And with the King of Wands here reversed, of course, this is the major, major, major wrong person. This is an abusive person who's a bully and who absolutely does not hold loyalty to anyone but himself. So the success in healing his current karma, we have to remember he was a bully himself. Michael was. He bullied people he bullied people for Donald Trump. He threatened people for Donald Trump. And we're talking, women who Trump paid off. And, Alan Weisselberg, who I'll read on soon, he knows where all the bodies are buried around all that stuff too. And Les Wexner, and David Pecker. I'm trying to think who else would be involved back in the day. That other creepy guy that took care of everything for Epstein, that is Alan Dershowitz. So these are the kind of guys that, Cohen aligned himself with, and he did what they said. And so, but with the Two of Cups here, I think he's working through that karma, to try and clear it all up. I think, of course, he's flipped and he's spilled the beans because he needed to save himself. I don't think he wanted to stay in prison forever. And I think he wanted to be with his family, of course. But this shows, because these two cards are, how's he doing in healing his past life karma? Well, he's still working through it. So I think he's probably really motivated. He knows how Donald Trump thinks better than just about anyone else, probably. Well, the other guys do too, but we don't know if they're ever going to be on a stand telling their story, because I think Alan Dershowitz would just lie his ass off like he always has. And I think he has some type of mental problem. And Les Wexner, I don't know about. Yeah, and these other guys, oh man, it's just, hide, cover up, deceive, do whatever the guy with the money wants. That's the deal. So he's still working through abusive bully karma, and I think he might be trying to turn it around on Trump, which is, of course, is exactly what he has tried to do. He stood in his, or not stood, he was sitting there in his, in his hearing before Congress, speaking to the fact that that Trump would do everything that he did to Michael himself, he'll do to anyone else that comes forward and tries to take care of themselves. So, that's what he was giving voice here to. What it's like to be in a relationship with a bully. And that is exactly what he's healing at this point still in his life. But he is having success over it. Otherwise, this card would be reversed, and it's not. The caduceus here shows that it's healing. He's healing that relationship that he had with bullies from his, at least this lifetime coming in, which I think was steeped in a lot of depression. Now, what he's going to experience or what he's going through currently or will experience soon with the Queen of Pentacles reversed, he's worrying a lot. He's neglecting his own self-care a lot, and he's dependent on probably his wife nurturing him to get him through this time. There's some emotional dependency going on here. And then with the Knight of Wands reversed, it's, he's going slowly. It's not happening quickly. But this card sometimes comes through when there's an addiction going on. And this card sometimes comes through when there's jealousy going on. So there's also a little bit, when the Knight of Wands comes through reverse, there's always a little bit of arrogance, like I'm the one that knows kind of attitude. But there can be abuse too. So because this is hanging over him, this could be Trump. This could be Trump or anyone else working for Trump trying to abuse him. And because they're still hooked in and addicted to Trump's, power, so-called power. It's not real power. It's just, what you can do with money, but at the expense of your soul. And yeah, you know what? This could be somebody who's jealous hanging over him. This very well. These 4 cards here could all be Trump. And that's his biggest challenge, he's still trying to extricate himself. So it looks to me like he's really focused on that. Now, professionally, this is actually a really good card coming in, because this is a celebration and harmony and being really satisfied with what you've done in the past. So this is, being his professional future. It's also sometimes, moving house. So he may be doing that. It's possible that he'll be moving house. But we'll just look at it as being, happy and what he's helping do for the United States. And coupled with the moon, hanging over the moon, he's taken a risk is what I'm getting. He's taken a risk over the enemy of Trump. Because sometimes the moon is hidden enemies. He is spilling the beans, everything about Trump. So I think here's our answer as to how will he be effective in bringing Trump down? I would say yes. Because sun or moon is illuminating. And this could be Trump at Mar-a-Lago. And there could be something that has to do with all the work he did for Trump organization, information coming through there. And that's what helps him professionally. He for sure he's going to spill the beans. And then his personal future, of course, like I was saying with the Fool, he's free. There's an aspect of his soul that he has freed, and he's moving forward in freedom. This card is all about liberation. It's all about a brand new, fresh start and new opportunities, and most of all, freedom. But coupled with the Ace of Pentacles reversed, he's not going to have the money he wants. He sold his book unless he can get some type of, unless he could write another book or get some type of a movie deal. I don't know if he's into acting. Or if he could, be part of a documentary or something. But and this doesn't have to be for very long. And any reversal, a soul can work to turn around. But this is not having the money that he wants for a while. And I think that later on, it'll get better. So let me drop the camera down and use the Kipper to see what the product, the end result, will be for his testimony. Because he's going in again for the 8th. He's gone in 7 times, and he's going in for his 8th interview to the Manhattan DA. I mean, they don't bring somebody in over and over and over again without massive cooperation. So I want to see what effect that's going to have on Trump, which is probably what we really want to know, right? Okay, hold on, I'll be right back. I have to drop the camera down. Okay, so using a Kipper, and I'm using this little deck here by Ciro Marchetti. And I've shuffled it to ask what will be the effect on Trump of Michael Cohen's 8th interview. And we could say, you know, all prior 7. How about 8 interviews with the Manhattan DA's office? What effect is that going to have on Trump? I'll keep going. What effect on Trump? Okay. So this is nothing to do with, I mean, this is the forces of Michael Cohen clearing out his karma and doing what he can to protect himself and learning his lessons that he needed to learn. You know, he's, like the tarot card stated, he was needing to, with that 4 of Cups reversed and the 9 of Swords, he was needing to overcome terrible, depression and awful situations that he had been through prior to this lifetime. So he took the easy way out, or best way out he had as far as opportunities, but now he's learning to not take just any old offer. And he's learning to take, what he's doing is taking self-responsibility. But having said all that, these cards are about Trump, okay? This is the sum total of his 8, of Michael Cohen's 8 interviews before the Manhattan DA's office. So, his fortune that he has created in the past, this is Donald Trump's, great fortune, his wealth, his success, all his opportunities and, efforts that he took advantage of, is going to be met with a lot of people in the state of New York who have for a very long time been very tired of dealing with him. I mean, since the 80s, he's been, I think, he built buildings for people to live in, but he's been known, him and his dad have been known as slumlords prior to. He's been known for, if you look up the Polish Brigade, taking advantage of immigrant labor and then not paying them. So that happened. So he's been, like a leech on the state of New York. And he's used every tax advantage that he could. His dad taught him how to do that. So that's how he amassed the fortune. And I think the community they're not going for that anymore. The community of the state of New York, basically. And even though it's going to take some time, but what's going to happen, I believe, is that because we've got poverty here, Lovers just has to do with all the people involved. It has to do with people who gave you what you wanted, people who returned the favors. It can be success, but we've got poverty over here. So I think what we're saying, or what the cards are saying, is that to get to the place where Donald John Trump is in poverty is going to take some time, because it nights over here. And the pathway, the journey he's going on, and the journey and the path, his life path, will lead him to prison. And maybe at least one of his children, if not both of them, all 3 of them, I'm sorry. Then again, maybe not them, because I have a feeling they're all flipping. So, Oh, and my friend Lisette, this is a total side note, but she told me yesterday in one of the comments that this child card is one of, I guess, Ciro Marchetti. This is a picture of one of his kids. So adorable, huh? But anyway, if it's not a child that is locked up, or one of his adult children that's locked up with him, and which I think would be more likely to be Don Jr., because I think Eric's already flipped, and Vanky, she's too smart for anything else than throwing him under the bus. But it could be a new start, because the child card often represents brand new start, and new phase in life. So there's that, right? Now, there could be something else that comes out about work agreements, trade agreements, or something, and something that has to do with way back in the day with his Taj Mahal in Atlantic City. So that's weird. Interesting, I guess. Yeah, because it knights over to the community. So I think there's a lot. I think what the cards are trying to tell me is there are a lot more people than Michael Cohen going in and giving depositions and answering questions. And some of them may have been tied with Atlantic City from back in the day and how that failed, and maybe investors, although I know his father bailed him out a couple of times, but there were probably other investors. I mean, see, that's the thing, is when a person files bankruptcy, which he's done, I forget, you guys are going to have to tell me, at least I think 4 times, but maybe 6. That leaves vendors and people out in the cold. And he has burned bridges, all his life. So this fortune that he's amassed has affected these people that work for him, and I think they are going to be joining together to try and maybe recoup their losses. But anyway, based on how this will affect Trump, he's going to wind up in poverty, very, very deep poverty, and in prison. And I can't tell you how many readings I've done lately, that's just even in this last week, where I get this card for he and his cronies. So we've got that to look forward to. For Trump, the fortune has changed, and it's moved towards his connections that created poverty within the state of New York and Atlantic City, and that's why he winds up here in prison. Hopefully with some little rat bugging him, or hopefully, probably wouldn't. He'd probably be in a white-collar kind of, criminal situation. I'd like to see him with that other guy, the guy that's one of the guys from the, I can't remember his name, the guy that sat in Nancy Pelosi's chair, and can't remember the guy's name, but anyway, he's still in jail, and he's pissed that there are cockroaches. Who's the cockroach, right? Wow. So anyway, yeah. I would venture to guess, anybody that's an expert here with Kipper, drop in the comments anything you see, or anybody who has some intuitive sense that has nothing to do with Kipper, but you just want to say something, drop it in the comments. I welcome them all. But this looks to me like Michael Cohen is one of the guys that brings Trump down. So let's send him lots of love and kudos, and for at least he's doing the right thing. He could have pulled a Michael Flynn, or what's his name, Paul Manafort. Yeah, he could have done a lot of other things, but he didn't. He flipped. And because of him, and because of all the records that Mary Trump had, as well as other people, wherever Mary got the records, and we could give credit to the I can't remember. Is it Sally? I can't remember her last name. But with the New York Times that brought out all that information from Trump's taxes. She's the one that Mary Trump had all the tax records or knew how to get a hold of them, and she got them and brought them to this lady, and they spent a couple years going over everything, and that's part of this. And I believe that's why we have the community card here, and all these people that cared to dive into where Trump tries to act like he's broke sometimes to get the tax breaks, and eventually this is going to lead him, because we're talking insurance fraud, tax fraud, bank fraud, because he would get loans based on saying he had a lot of money. Basically, the dude has kept a double set of books for since the beginning of his time, beginning of his business. That's part of his MO. 2 sets of books. That's how they do it. They show one when it's appropriate to show that you make more money than you do to get what you want, and then they show another one to the IRS, or when they're trying to get out of paying taxes. And then who knows what's in offshore accounts, and who knows what's in what's come through from money laundering. Somebody needs to make a deck with like money laundering, all the facets of like RICO charges. Would have Putin on one card, and I don't know, maybe MBS on another. I don't know. My imagination's going crazy now. So I'm going to close this up. Thanks, you guys. Take good care. Bye.